hello to everyone and welcome to the Summer I Turned Pretty book club with Amazon Prime Video. My name is KAPLAN. I'm going to be your moderator today, and we have a really excited group here joining us. But most importantly, we are joined by a woman whose books have been published in more than 30 languages, the author of the New York Times bestselling book and showrunner for the new Amazon original series, The Summer I Turned Pretty, the incredible Jenny Han. Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
Hi. We're all here because we love the book. Do you want to talk a little bit about your inspiration?
My inspiration, so I used to, when I was in grad school, I was also a nanny. Although I called myself a paid companion because she was like a teenager. And she, in many ways, inspired Belly because she was sort of in the same moment in her life, I think. And I just really wanted to celebrate that moment, I think, when you are just sort of like in bloom. And I think that people are seeing you in a new way and you're seeing yourself in a different way. And I think it's exciting and exhilarating at the same time. It can be a little bit scary. So I really just wanted to pay like homage to that moment of girlhood.
Yeah, it's such a special moment. And I think every woman goes through it at different chapters. We were talking about having read this when it first came out and then rereading it just now and kind of the difference and finding the relatable moments then and then also now. It's really a special journey that I think everyone who reads this goes through and relates to different people along the way. I
think for me, that's been the most special part because, you know, the first book came out like, gosh, how many years has it been? It came out in 2009. I started writing it like years before then. And I just love it that people who read that book, you know, many of them were 12 years old, 13 years old, and now they're grown women and men. And there are some men as well who read the books, but mostly women. And I think it's really like such a privilege for me as an author to feel like I've sort of grown with my readership. And I think there's no greater compliment than when someone tells me like, this is a book that made me like fall in love with books and made me a reader. And that's such a special relationship. I think it's one of the reasons why I will always really cherish being somebody who writes for young people, because I think it's a singular author-reader relationship that's really special.
You get to have such an impact on people as they're growing up and, you know, touch so many people in that way. That is really special. How long, you mentioned this, but how long did it take you to write Summer I Turned Pretty?
It took me probably a couple of years. Yeah. But the thing is, when you write a series, you don't have a couple of years for the next because they come out sort of like every year. So and there's also like a publishing schedule. So you don't have that kind of jumpstart that you do, that lead time, when you can really kind of like think about the book and like kind of like live inside of the book for a long time before you share it with anybody. But I think I always pictured this trilogy as like a beginning, middle, and end with those 3 books. So in some ways, it's like one long story.
Definitely. Did you ever experience when you were writing it any sort of writer's block, or was it something you knew the story and you had to tell it immediately?
I actually don't really believe in writer's block. I just believe that writing is like very, very hard. It's always hard. For me, it's hard every single time. And I always use the analogy of like surfing, even though I don't know how to surf, but I have tried before. But the idea of like you're going out into the ocean and you're, you know, waiting for the wave, and you might be out there all day long and you're not really like catching anything. But I think when you do catch that great wave, and for me, I just ride it all the way to shore. And when I'm in that mode, I'm just really in the story. I'm like not even paying attention to anything around me, and I am completely like immersed. But some days, you know, you don't really get a very good wave at all. But you're never going to get anything if you don't get out there and get in the ocean. So that's kind of like opening up the laptop for me, is waiting for the wave.
I love that analogy. I want to go surfing with you next.
No, you don't.
It's a perfect analogy for this. Let's talk about the name Belly for a second. Belly is obviously so adorable. Isabel, you mentioned that.
Divisive. Some people hate it.
Oh
But,
no, it's so beautiful.
That was also inspired by that girl that I used to nanny for, who I love, who, gosh, now she's like in her late 20s and she's like engaged. But at the time, she had a friend who went by the name Belly, and I just thought it was like very adorable. So it stuck with me.
That's amazing. I love hearing that origin story. So we are joined by lots of incredible special guests, fans. Hopefully everybody has just read or reread the book. We're here in a virtual book club, which is really incredible. So want everyone to think about their questions that they would like to ask Ginny. It's a really special moment that we have here. And also there might be a little bit of a surprise guest joining us in a bit. Just hinting at that right now, but let's go ahead and start with some questions from some of the fans. So would love to toss a question to Alexandra, who is on right now.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Alexandra.
Hi, Jenny. I can't believe I'm just saying like, hi, Jenny, as if that's a normal thing, but I just adored this book and all of them. They really got me through lockdown when the pandemic first started. And this book in particular was really special. And so my question has to do with actually Cousins Beach and the beach house. Because my family too has had kind of this long tradition of going to the same beach every summer. So I was just wondering if, like, what inspired Cousins Beach for you, or did you have a similar beach house and a similar kind of dynamic with family or friends that inspired that?
Well, for me, I grew up going to like Nag's Head and like Virginia Beach, and then so I had those in my head. But then also when I was writing it, I was living in New York City, so I was going to like the Hamptons, and then I also went to Cape Cod a lot with Claire and her family, the girl I told y'all about.
Oh, nice.
So I had a lot of like beaches in my head, and I think that's part of the reason why people can read the book and feel like it's their beach. Like I get that kind of an email from readers around the world, and I think Summer I Turned Pretty is probably my best-selling book, and I think it's for that reason, is that you can really imagine it's your beach and your summer and kind of put yourself in Belly's shoes.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Alexandra. Let's go to Steph Borer right now. Hi, Steph.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I wanted to ask you a question that you actually came up with. So how would you answer Jeremiah's question in the Would You Rather game of, would you rather live one perfect day over and over, or live your life with no perfect days, but just decent ones?
Steph, that's a very hard question. I honestly would probably do a bunch of decent ones, because I feel like there's like a hope of like something better the next day that you don't know what's going to happen. But if you keep living the same day over and over again, that could maybe get, in a weird way, kind of bleak. Although if the perfect day was, I mean, my perfect day is probably like a fresh squeezed juice, a beach, like a massage, some seafood. That sounds pretty good. So, I mean, both options are good, but I probably would go for decent in the hopes of something more.
I would be living that perfect day over and over again. I think it's such a easy question, but I love that everybody has such different answers. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steph. Really appreciate that question. Next, we're going to throw to Pauline.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
This is just so surreal for me. Like, I've loved your books for so long. And I think like one of the most impactful parts of your book is Susanna for me, because I just like losing a parent when I was young too. Like, I think that just like, it kind of hits different, like when you read about it in a book. So I kind of wanted to ask, like, how did you tackle writing Susanna's storyline? Like, was it like difficult for you knowing that she was sick and then the rest of your characters didn't know she was sick yet?
The girl I told you about, her mom, Holly, I was super close to, and she in many ways sort of inspired Susanna. And then also there was like this next door neighbor I had as a kid who I thought was so, I don't know, beautiful and kind. And I think to me, that character represents those sort of like women in your life that you admire. And when you're young, you think, oh, like they sort of know everything. And I guess I wanted to explore into that kind of a relationship and what it feels like to no longer have that person in your life. I was just talking about this actually in the writer's room the other day, and thinking about how I remember when I was a kid, when my grandpa passed away, I was his favorite grandchild. If my cousins see this, they'll probably get mad, but these are the facts. I was his favorite. And when he died, I remember I had this thought that like, I'm nobody's like favorite anymore. And I think it's like a special thing when you're young to have that kind of relationship, to really feel like you're the apple of someone's eye. And I think it's a real moment of growing up and like coming of age when you lose that person. So I think that's what that relationship is. And I think a lot of people have experienced that. So I hope it maybe could, I don't know, be something beautiful for someone to read and think about that person.
Thank you so much, Pauline. Really appreciate it. Next, we're going to dive into the love a little bit, switching gears. Jasmine has a question.
Hi, Jenny. So I Turned Pretty sparked my love for romance books. So I wanted to ask, do you have a favorite out of Belly's love interest, Jeremiah, Conrad, and Cam? And if you were advising Belly, what advice would you give her when it comes to love and her love interest?
This is a very divisive question. You're gonna get me in trouble, Jasmine. I think in order to write these books, you have to be in love with all of them at some point, and to really see what makes them all special as a person, but also to Belly, and see why she falls for each of them. So could I say I'm team Conrad over Jeremiah or Cam? No, because I think they're all dear to me. I guess I would always say, and this is going to sound cheesy, but I always say I'm team Belly. It's like whatever Belly wants is what I want. And I will say that when you're an author and you're writing a trilogy, I think even more so now because of like Twitter and social media, it's a little bit harder to write with that door closed. And because you start thinking, oh man, like people are gonna be so mad at me. Like, oh, I don't want people to be disappointed. I want everyone to be happy. But when it's a love triangle, I don't think it really works unless everybody is like, on some level, you have to be devastated in some way, because otherwise, then you don't really care about what's happening. But spending all those years with those characters, I also love them so much too. So it's really hard to like put them through like painful moments. And I'll also say that, you know, making the show, episode to episode, I would be like, I'm team Cam now. Now I'm team Jeremiah, I'm team Conrad. I was like definitely flip-flopping for sure. So I hope the audience will kind of be on the same journey with Belly.
I think Team Belly is actually a really good answer. And it is a little cheesy to say that, but not really, because, you know, we have different moments and experiences with her where we're rooting for every single guy. And so I think, you know, you want to be Team Cam sometimes, and you want to be Team Jeremiah at other moments. And I think it's really what's best for Belly in each of those situations. So I think that's a wonderful answer.
Thank you.
Let's talk actually a little bit about adapting this book to the screen and that process. You know, what was really most important for you, Jenny, in turning the book into a series?
As a writer and a storyteller, I think I want to like give something that people want. And, you know, in trying to find, I guess, what it is that people want in the story and what they really care about. I don't really care personally. It's not about somebody's hair color or eye color or any of those details. To me, it's really about whether or not they can capture that character. I think sometimes people get really attached to the image they see on a book cover, which was, you know, like models on a beach that we shot like 10 years ago. So I'm like, those people are like in their 30s now. They're too old to play those parts, and they're also not actors. And it's never to me just about the way somebody looks. It really is about, I think, their spirit and whether or not I can see the character in them. When I was writing the series and when I was in the writer's room, I always felt like my role was as, in some ways, an ambassador to the readership, because it's been many years, so I know what people respond to, what they love, and what they want to see. So I kept being like, what scenes I think are most important to the readers? What do they really want to see the most? Because I want to make sure they get that. But it's always like, doing my best and trying to give like a really complete and beautiful story, I would say.
Well, speaking of part of the reason that this is so beautiful, we have a special guest who is going to be joining us right now. Jenny, would you like to introduce Lola?
Yes. Lola, my darling dear. Everybody meet Lola. She's been nervously waiting in the wings like for a while, and I've been trying not to look at her and smile because I'm focused on you guys. But this is Lola. This is our Belly.
Lola, we are so excited to meet you, and we're so excited. You are the perfect Belly. Everybody here in this book club is nodding their heads and so enthusiastic right now, just because we're so excited for you to be on this journey and to really bring Belly to life. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you, Jenny, for this. Yeah,
I feel like she's such a good surprise, right? And she brought like her copy of her book, which has all these tabs in it and all her notes. She's like a really like diligent note taker.
I'm also just really nervous all the time. So I was like, I have to make sure that I know everything before I talk to all the wonderful fans who I'm
Should
sure know
they quiz you? I'm just kidding.
I'm sure some of the fans would have some questions ready to go. Actually, in reading the book and preparing for the role, how many times did you read the book? Did you focus on the script?
I read the series one time all the way through because I was also in school at the time, which was interesting. But I read the series once all the way through, and then we got new scripts or updated scripts pretty regularly. So I was, constantly reading those to keep up with it, I guess. But it was really cool to read the book and then to read the script and see the wonderful things that stayed the same and the wonderful things that changed and will hopefully, and everyone will hopefully love, so.
Definitely. And again, you really just bring Belly to life in such an exciting way that all fans of Summer I Turned Pretty are just going to be over the moon about, really. You two are together in person right now, which I am so excited and jealous of. I would love to talk about y'all's relationship. How'd you meet? Jenny, for you, what was it like seeing Lola and meeting Lola for the first time?
Well, so this is Lola's first like acting job. And it was her first audition even. And I don't know, there was just really something about Lola that when I like saw her for the first time on her screen test, I was rooting for her. Like, I was like, you can do it, Lola, you can do it. I felt like my heart was like soaring as I was watching Lola in the scene. And I think that's exactly the feeling I want people to have when they watch Belly, which is that they're on her side, and they are rooting for her and, falling in love with her just as I did. I really feel like I cannot even picture anybody else in this part, truly. She's so wonderful.
She really is. And that's such a special thing to hear, Lola. What was it like on your end when you were auditioning?
The process was incredible and crazy. And like Jenny mentioned, it was my first audition. So it was, I was really nervous, but it was super exciting to be in a Zoom audition room filled with so many amazing people like Jenny. And she just made the process so smooth and so much fun. And then we met in person for the first time in New York.
We went to lunch. Yeah.
I remember you looked at me, you were like,
I didn't think you were this tall. And I was like, oh no, this is an issue. But that was
Because we're
really
just on
fun.
the Zoom, so who
Right.
can tell like how
It's
tall
so hard to
anybody is?
tell. Yeah, but I mean, she's the best.
She's the best.
Oh, stop.
It's
No,
so
but
easy. It is really so easy to talk about Lola because I'm a really bad liar. I cannot like Lola, you know this, right? You know that about me. I'm just like I just can't. And so, but I'm like I think Lola is truly wonderful. She's an angel, and she's so good in this part. I think
Yeah.
people are really going to be rooting for her and Team Belly all the way.
I really, just like you said, I can't imagine anyone else being Belly. You are the perfect Belly. It's really exciting. And the readers and audience is just going to fall in love with you. What an exciting new chapter for you. Let's talk a little bit about, being on set and filming and your relationship there with the other characters. Lola, what was it like being there? And do you have any favorite behind the scenes memories, maybe with Jenny from filming?
Yeah. Oh my God. It was incredible.
She had her 19th birthday on set.
Second to last day of
Second to
filming.
last day of filming, and I got her 2 cakes, and one was like
They were beautiful.
like real flowers on it. It said 1-9. It was so pretty. And I got her like a little like a diamond infinity.
I wore it
necklace.
today, but I had to take it off for this. But yeah, those were. I mean, that was probably like
That's really fun.
the coolest birthday ever. But that was really wonderful being surrounded by these people who I'd grown so close to over 4 months, and truly like. Everyone in the cast was, not only were they exceptional actors, just wonderful human beings. And, I still hang out with a bunch of them, which is really cool. And we had a lot of fun moments on and off set. And we got to go down to where we were filming in Wilmington, North Carolina a few weeks early and just kind of bond with each other, which was... Now it's so necessary and so important because it really felt like we had that, long time bond of being really good friends. And
they all got super like tight with each other, and they would like hang out 24/7. I was very proud of them because it was like in the thick of COVID, and I'm like, guys, please, like, don't go out this weekend. Don't go anywhere.
Well, we only knew each other, which was great.
So
We
they
had
were
our
just
little
like
pod.
having a little pod, and they
Yeah.
would, play Mafia, and they would like play cards. Because we were shooting in the summertime, it was really important that we get out of there in a certain amount of time. And so like with a COVID setback where you're then having to stop for a couple of weeks is very difficult under those conditions. But everybody kept it together and
Very safe.
Very safe, yeah.
I was going to ask, it was actually summer when you were filming?
It was summer.
Yeah, we got lucky.
It was hot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, which made those, the fun beach scenes, if we were ever in the water, it was, wonderful.
Natural. Yeah.
Oh my God, especially first day.
Yeah,
When-
I had so much
For
fun.
the belly flop day,
Yeah.
like I was just like seething with jealousy because
They were like, do you want to get out? I was like,
No.
I'll stay here.
I'm good, actually. Well, people have been writing in, asking questions. We're here to answer a few of them. So I want to take a few from some of the people on Twitter and Instagram who've been writing in. This is a question actually for Jenny from Twitter. What made you decide to make this a show instead of a movie?
I think because of all the flashbacks in the books and the way that we see her story span across, like, I think from, age 9 into her 20s, that would be very hard to do that in a movie. And I also think there's something really moving and profound about seeing somebody physically get older and being able to capture that on screen. Because I even feel like from the first day of filming until the last, like, you looked like changed to me. You know what I mean? Like, you looked a little bit like more grown up, like having had this like big first job, being like the lead of a show, like all of that, you could sort of see that on your face. It's just a certain like growing up that happened even on the show, which I think is so lovely. And it's almost like it's not like a documentary or like, but there's something really remarkable and like truthful about that. And the fact that we hopefully will be able to do more and continue to like capture that is really special.
That's incredible. It's also, we were talking about this earlier, so many of your readers and fans of Summer I Turned Pretty have grown up as well with the books. So it is really just capturing Summer I Turned Pretty. And it's such a remarkable chapter to watch it, Lola, grow up on screen, but then also to be able to read it and grow up while you're reading. Next question is for Lola. Do you see yourself in Belly? In what ways do you relate to her?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think, you know, she's only a few years younger than me, so I remember what, you know, how I felt at 15, 16, and I still, you know, feel in some ways very similarly. You know, this is the summer where she's finding herself and coming into her own and forging her own path, and I definitely still relate to that. You know, I'm just starting to sort of figure out, you know, my own path, and yeah, I think that's a really special thing that a lot of people my age and any age can relate to. And she's pretty stubborn too, and I feel like I can be a little stubborn as well. So yes.
That's awesome. And I feel like it's so important when you're reading the books to relate to somebody. And I think so many people relate to Belly when they're reading the books and have this really strong connection. So for you to have that, it's really incredible. Jenny, Lola, you're fantastic. We're gonna open the floor now to some of the people who are on this call, some readers, some fans. Want to hear from you. Let's go to Maya.
Hi.
Hi, Maya. You recognize Maya? I see her TikTok.
I've seen your TikTok.
I sent her your
She did
TikTok.
send me the TikTok.
Okay. And I noticed that Lola's also wearing the shirt that she wore in the TikTok Jenny posted, and that made me happy. How did you come up with Jeremiah and Conrad?
I always write character first, and maybe there's like a situation, but then I think about who the characters are and what they would do in a situation, and those characters just felt fully formed to me as I wrote them. I think in many ways they're sort of like a classic pair of brothers in that the older one is more responsible and the younger one, I think, is a little more free-spirited. And like, I look at my two nephews and they're very much that way, where the older one is like always like worried about something. And the second one, like, it's like has the attention span of a gnat and he just like likes to have fun. So they felt fully formed to me. They weren't really inspired by anybody. I think they just were already their own people.
Thank you so much, Maya. We'll go to KAYLEE. Hi, KAYLEE. Very nice to see you.
Hi. I have two questions, if that's okay. The first one is, out of all the characters, who is your favorite character?
Who's yours?
I love Laurel.
Laurel. She loves Laurel.
I love Laurel. And Belly. Team Belly.
For me, one of my favorite characters to write is Taylor. And then like Rain, who plays Taylor, makes me laugh every single time. I crack up no matter. And I've seen these episodes 50 million times in the edit bay, and I still laugh every single time.
And then Lola, did you do anything to like help you get into character? Like listen to music or anything?
Yeah, I definitely did. I think most of us did this. I made a Belly playlist with, you know, all the songs that I felt for me were I guess how my Belly felt, because I'm sure everyone has different songs that they would include on that type of playlist. It's so personal, but yeah, I listened to that a lot before filming, which was really, really helpful.
Okay, you can't tease us with that. What was a song on the playlist? Number one song.
Definitely some Olivia Rodrigo. I feel like that's just a kind of a given. But I love this artist, Lizzie McAlpine. A lot of her most recent EP. I love a lot of songs off of that. Some Taylor Swift for sure.
Which Taylor Swift did you put on there?
Yeah.
Oh wait, don't say.
I put You Belong With Me on there.
Oh,
because
yeah.
That's like a classic. And then
Wait, and also didn't you say Japanese Breakfast?
I love Japanese Breakfast. I put Be Sweet by Japanese Breakfast on that playlist. Love them.
Lola's like a very good singer as well.
Thanks.
You may or may not get to hear her sing on the show. We'll see. But she is a very good singer. And oftentimes I will ask her opinions on music.
It's really
for
fun
the
to do
show.
that too, because there's so much music that I didn't even realize. Even little things like when you turn on the radio in a public place, there's music playing, and you have to think about that too, because it all sets the mood. But yeah, it's really cool helping with music.
Thank you so much. And I think we have time for one more question. Janelle. Hi, Janelle.
Hi guys. So I just want to say how the series has always been something super special for me, and then now rereading it and being in the same period of life that Belly was when it started was super cool. My question for both of you is, are there any characters that you guys are excited for fans to see that might be a little unexpected?
Yes.
Like new characters, or you mean, or just characters that they already know?
Either
and-
or.
What were you gonna say? Cam?
Oh, no. But yes, he's wonderful. But also, I think I've seen your TikToks too. They're wonderful.
Oh yay, that's right. We have a couple of new characters
that are really, really wonderful
that are
additions,
wonderful,
perfect and wonderful people.
But I think, I don't know. I will say Cam, because I think Cam is a fan favorite. And David Icona, who plays him, is so much fun. And I think people will be happy with Cam.
Appreciate everybody giving such thoughtful questions, leaving amazing comments. It's been so nice hearing from everyone. Thank you also so much, Jenny and Lola. What a treat. And this has been such a pleasure getting to talk to you. I know, Jenny, you definitely shaped a lot of growing up for me. I've been reading your books since middle school. And so being able to have this conversation with you today has been really, really special.
Gosh, thank you so much, Carly. It's really important to me, as the author of the books, the creator, to feel like I'm hopefully giving something that the people who really love the books will also love. And that's the most important thing to me, is that you guys are happy. So thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time, and for all your excitement, enthusiasm online, supporting the show. It means so much to me.
Oh my God, it means the world. So thank you. Yeah, it's really wonderful.
Thank you guys so much.
Don't forget to follow Amazon Prime Video and The Summer I Turned Pretty on social media. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Lola. Summer I Turned Pretty comes soon to Amazon Prime Video, so you'll be able to watch Lola there and fall in love with Belly and her amazing story. So thank you again so much. Have a great rest of the day and keep rereading the books.